Furious Driving, proud to be supported by Diamond Bright, protecting, cleaning and caring for the Furious fleet and for yours with 10% off using code FD10. Follow the links in the description below. Hello and welcome to Furious Driving, and you join me back here in the barn of dreams, the barn of rather dusty dreams, with this, my 1993 Rover 220 Coupe, the Tomcat. In the last episode when we featured this car, new head gasket, new timing belt all went in, and now this episode is really just buttoning everything back together again, putting all the bits I took off back onto it in order to make the thing actually run, and hopefully we can take this thing for a drive around the farmyard and just see, does it actually work? So in the intervening few days, there's been a really busy couple of weeks for non-YouTube work, so I've not been up to the barn in about a fortnight, so this has been sitting here on jacks waiting for me to come back and return. Also, while this thing is in pieces, I can't do any sandblasting on the Mini, which is behind the camera, because I don't want to fill the room and indeed my engine with abrasive grit. That would be a bad thing. Before I started this whole enterprise, I did spend about half a day sweeping like crazy to get this garage as tidy and clean as possible so I didn't fill this engine with dirt. Now, I've refitted the crank pulley. I couldn't tighten it up as tight as I wanted to, or I need to, because I didn't bring my impact wrench over with me, but that'll be a job for next time I come back. However, I can now turn the key and just see if this thing does spin over. I've turned it many times. My hand on the ratchet. What we need to do before I spend any time putting this thing back together again is crank it on the key just to be 100% sure. So I'll move my cup of tea first. That's step one. Always move your cup of tea off the engine you're about to start. Right, clutch down, fingers crossed for no grindy noises. Spark plugs are out so it won't start. Well, that sounds pretty promising. Let's start buttoning things up. If you're not familiar with this particular car on the channel, bear with, and yes, I have changed my t-shirt because I'm filming this at the end of the production, the shoot, and dropping it in earlier in the video. This is my 1993 Rover 220 Coupe, aka the Tomcat, which is a Rover internal production name they had for this series of cars. It's the same basic chassis as Quentin the convertible, the 216 I had a little while ago, and my 420 GSI. It's State Tourer, which is away getting painted. This car I've had for a long time. I bought it because the previous owner thought it was dead, and so they abandoned it in the yard at work, fortunately during the scrappage scheme, which is why I have the scrappage scheme survivor in the back window, and those are, they're not available on the web store. They should be. They're available at events when I bring them with me. Yeah, he thought the immobiliser was broken and it's a huge problem. I actually fixed it with a new starter motor, so that was a bit of a win, and I've had it basically ever since. Over the years I've treated it to quite a few things. It's got Rover Cosmos alloys off a BRM. It's got a pipe across stainless exhaust. It's a bit of a wide bore, a bit noisier, a bit more fun. It's got gas coilover adjustable suspension. It should have a induction kit filter on it, but that's on the floor nearby. And it's been basically maintained to within an inch of its life over the last couple of years. It had to have a new head about 10-15 years ago because the cast iron head actually cracked, which is really weird. But that was fixed. Bizarre issue a couple of years ago. The glass of the rear screen just cracked, exploded in the morning frost one day. I came out and it was like, whoa, what's happened to the window? And it was gone. So that was a bit of an adventure. The roof's been repainted because the paint had gone on that. It's not an uncommon thing. I recoloured the leather of the seats, all kinds of little things. I changed the steering wheel to a proper leather one off a GSI model car. I needed to redo the wood on it because the wood's a bit meh at the minute. Lots of things done to this car over the last couple of years and I absolutely love it. In the last episode we changed the head gasket and the timing belt because it's had a problem. The long-running problem with T Series engines is that they leak oil out of the seal between the head gasket and the head and the block. So it doesn't affect the running of the car, but it chucks so much oil out, it's actually not safe to drive it. It's bad for the environment, I guess. It's definitely bad for motorcyclists, and it looks like the car's on fire. So it's really generally bad, and it got to the point where it wasn't drivable anymore. I had to take it off the road because it was just gushing out so badly, and that is why this particular project is having its head gasket done. And of course, timing belt was just due on age. Right, I'll go back in with the torque wrench and the impact on that one and make sure they're all super tight. Then move on to the little belt down here so we can have alternations happening and electricery, which is always useful. But first we can finally take this jack out and set the engine free. I'll be happier when the engine's not on a jack. There we go. One thing done. Right, so the long list of new parts continues with a new Gates Micro V unique belt. So let's try and figure this one out. There's a big pulley down the bottom for it to go around. Use smaller hands than I've got to do this job. Bit of an effort getting the 15mm spanner on there and doing the tensioner. But basically you get the 15mm spanner on the tensioner, twist it while you're holding it very hard with one hand, wiggle the belt over the pulleys with your other hand. Easy peasy. So we get it all back on the alternator and the power steering pump. I'm very, very happy to be putting the rocker covers back on because it means there's less chance of dirt and gunge falling back into the engine. In fact, there's lots of dirt and gunge absolutely everywhere. So basically all good in the old hood. I've given all the surfaces a good old clean up, given the bolts a good clean up. So it should just slot together nice and smooth and clean, and there's lots and lots of doing up little nuts and bolts. And then go around and torque them all up. I think it's 10 Newton meters. This has just got a light smear of RTV on it, just to be sure. Right, another bit done. Moving on to the next bit, whatever that's going to be. I don't know, something. Honestly, there's so many things to connect and do. It's just a matter of just picking a thing and sticking it onto a thing, really. So might as well do this thing next. This thing goes here, I believe. No, there. Ah, that way up. Important to get that one right. There's probably some nuts for this somewhere. Yes, fortunately I did manage to find all 4 of the little bolts that hold that together. It's a fairly significant item in this car. Oh, wait a minute. Does that go that way up or the other way up? I don't remember. Oh, God. Yeah. I'm pretty sure that this is the only way it can go on. Probably. And the dirt marks on it, kind of the witness marks, and the position of the throttle cable. I mean, this is probably the only way it can go around. I will be proved wrong very shortly. And there are just an insane number of clips on cables and pipes that all need to be reconnected. And I'm sure I'm going to miss something because there are just so many of them. But hopefully I'll find them all. That probably goes there. Oh yeah, those two. Yeah, that'll go just there. I've got these 2, these 3 in fact. Okay, yeah. 3 and 2 places to plug them into. I'm sure that's fine. And that's fine, we don't need all them all. I'm sure we can just work around that. Fuel line. I did see a fuel line that went somewhere a minute ago. That's probably quite significant. That goes to something. A thing that goes to a thing, and then that thing goes somewhere else. I currently have this many bolts waiting to find a home, which is a teeny bit worrying because I don't remember any of them go. Well, I've just realised that this little plastic cowling cover thing that goes in the bottom of the timing belt, well, this is the timing belt cover bottom section, should have gone on before I fitted the auxiliary belt and before I put on the crank pulley. That was all such an easy thing to do. So that's my afternoon sorted out. Goody gumdrops. Yay. 15mm spanner. Wrench it like crazy. And you can't get enough movement on that tensioner to undo the belt. I'm not sure I can recommend this particular life hack. It looks like a bit sketchy, but I tell you what, it blooming works. Right, there we go, cleaned up and fitted. Bada bing. There we go. Timing covers, check. Top and bottom, all done, thank goodness. And the belt back on and all of that. Half an hour later, I'm merely back where I started half an hour ago. Now we've got this fairly hefty bit of fuel line that goes in the back of the injection rail, which even has a little prongy thing so it can only go one way around. 19mm is big, it's bigger than big. It is 24mm big, which is pretty big. Gonna call that done. More electrical connections and more little bolts hiding down the back of the engine. All good fun. This fuel line had actually turned somewhat elusive because it had flipped upside down and gone down the back of the engine. I could not find it for a while. I was thinking it must be something there because there's clearly a fuel union, which has to go somewhere. There we go. Right, that's a 17 and a 14, and that's done up. Right, our wee care package also included new gaskets for the inlet manifold, which we haven't used because didn't take that off and separate it. But we also have new exhaust manifold gasket, the hot burny metal one, so that can go in there. We can find some bolts. Right, and it's all bolting back together remarkably easily. Wondering what the thing is that I've not done that's going to mean it's going to come bite me in the bum. Well, I'm realising I've put this bracket onto this bolt just here, so I'm going to take the bolt back out again and re-tighten that up. Other than that, I think it's generally okay. And I don't know if there's a torque setting for this manifold. I'll go and check that in a second. This is ridiculously hard to get to though. If the alternator wasn't in there, that'd be a doddle. You know, when you're filming these things, you should leave the camera running all the time, even if you're not doing a thing that needs filming. I often don't. I turn it off, save battery and data if I'm over here and I've got no backup. I was just quickly moving this hose pipe to put this other water line underneath it, because it's just two bolts just down there, third bolt down there, and that one clips into that. And that's your water return sorted out. I need to tighten that. And the little clippy thing, undid the clippy thing of that. It's a clippy springy clip. It went doink, and it's over there somewhere now. You'd have been able to witness some unhappy words. Bother. Right, before I put the water bottle back for the washers in, I'm going to give that area a quick clean up. It's a bit gunky with just gunk really. Make the whole thing just a little bit prettier. Follow up with a bit of express wash and wax just to make it a little bit nicer. I know no one's going to see it, but I will know it's down there. This is one of the easy things to refit. Just a couple of connections and a couple of bolts, and away it goes. And now just a few final things to put on. I've got to figure out what pipe went on there. I've got a few random bolts I haven't found homes for yet, and this radiator pipe that goes on. I think I want a new thermostat housing because this aluminium casting looks a little bit corroded, and so I think that's why I'm getting some leakage down onto the alternator. And finally, I say finally, there's going to be more bits as well. We've got this thing here, which I think is part of the fuel system. If I follow that pipe back, it probably is. Goes to the inlet manifold, a couple of bolts which have been set up here, and I was wondering where they went. They go into here. Right, that bit's back on there. Now I just need to work out where those two little bolts came out of, because they're probably quite important. I think everything's reconnected now. Okay, everything's now back together again. The shroudy things are down the side at the bottom. There's one stray bolt that I haven't worked out what pipe or cable clamp it holds on, but I will keep looking for that. But in the meantime though, it's going to top up, well, drain the oil, give it some fresh oil, top up the coolant, fresh oil filter, and bada bing, we're ready to go and start this thing up at last. It's going to be gross. Here we go. Hopefully this thing will just wind off nice and easy. Oh wow, crikey. That is winding off easily. I am literally amazed. Right, so while that's draining down, I can start adding coolant over here. And I've forgotten, I'd also bought a new distributor cap, which is completely different. What the hell is that car from? It's not from this. I'll be sending that one back. Oh, it nearly had a bit of a disaster because I just noticed I hadn't put this lower radiator hose back on, which is the one I used to drain it all out in the first place. That would have been a bit awkward really if that had all fallen on the floor. So just refitting that. I find myself something to tighten that up with, and then I can go and top it up. Lucky I noticed that really. Right, so we now have oil, coolant, a filter. It's going to need more coolant topping up as we sort of run the system and bleed the coolant through. But let's fire it up and see if it's alive or not. Oh yeah. I keep noticing things. I will continue to keep noticing things. HT lead, king lead is going to be pretty essential here. It's still on the jack because I need to do an extra tighten up on the crank pulley still, but hey, we're okay for a minute. It's alive! It's alive! It's alive! I'm gonna open the door, I don't want to die. So far no leaks, which is always a positive thing. Well, obviously the cooling system is one thing, so I've taken that whole system apart, but the oil around the head is the biggie. So again, a little bit of smoke off there because obviously there's oil on, bit of oil to get on the manifold, so that's going to burn its way off. Oh no, I'm getting drippage. Drippage just there. I can't see anything, I can't see anything now, but it was leaking, or it is leaking out of that little union just there. So, okay, let's try again, hopefully this time without any leaks. I love how easily this car starts. It always was one of those cars that's happy to run, which is a rare and fantastic find when you have one. Oh, that one's loose as well. That's what's dripping. I never tighten those ones up. I've been looking for a tiny enough or the right size socket to do up these Jubilee clips. Never found one. That's why they were still dribbling. This should take 4.5 litres of oil, which it's got, and it should take 7 litres of coolant. There should also be a bleed screw somewhere down here in this area where I'm pointing with the screwdriver on the right hand side of the engine, and I can't find it. I don't know if that's because they deleted it or something at some point, or if someone's put the wrong pipe in there, but I will just run it and hopefully we'll get the thermostat open in a minute. I can't hear any exhaust blowing, which is good. Yeah, there is a bit of oil and stuff burning off, but that's to be expected. Of course, the reason this car got parked up is because it was chucking so much oil outside the block. There's a lot of oil on the block, which was going to take a little while to burn off. You know what, it's like 1993's come to visit over here, because this is the 1993 Punto, this is the 1993 Rover, and that is the, well, that's a very, very late model Alpha 145, introduced in 1993. And look what fantastic colours we used to get on our cars 30 years ago. That beautiful kind of pinky red metallic, this lovely Tahiti blue, and yeah, the Fantasia Azzurro blue on the Alpha. Ah, bring back the 90s. And such cool shapes as well. I wanted the fan to start before I'm happy that everything's running okay. This is something of a novelty. I've got a dashboard that's not festooned in warning lights. Temperature is approaching the midpoint. Fuel gauge is looking a bit on the low side. Otherwise, all good. I do need to stick this sticker on the back of the car somewhere. It's quite apt for this one. So now the car's kind of back and working again, I'm not going to rush and get it out on the road instantly, because it's what, middle of the month at the moment. If I drive this off anywhere to get an MOT, I'm going to have to tax it to bring it back here or back home. I'm getting sort of a bit grumpy about tax at the moment, because you know I've got too many cars that need taxing, so it gets expensive. So come the end of the month, I'll work out what I'm going to sawn. I'll take something else off the road, then I'll book this in for an MOT, hopefully get it passed, and then we can tax this one and give it a bit of use. Maybe this is another contender for Rustable. I'm wearing my Rustable t-shirt today, which I shouldn't have done because it was way dirtier than I thought I would. I went home last night, came back and finished up this morning. Yeah, because then we could have Hippo the Freelander, that's never been up to Rustable yet. We can take that and camp in that, save on a bit of hotel expenses. Take the Crown Vic, because that's now back on the road again, and take this one because this has been off the road for quite a while really. So One good thing about running a car for this long in the barn, if there are any infestations of rodents, it will gas them out. Honestly, when I was on the way to Millbrook when I decided to stop driving this car, I honestly thought it was on fire. There was so much smoke coming out from under the bonnet. It was a bit of a panic because I'd driven onto a petrol station forecourt and yeah, I drove off again in a hurry. But I jumped in, floored it off there, then I popped the bonnet to see what was on fire. Well, that is running nicely. I'm actually pretty happy with that. I mean, it's going to take an actual road test to fully, proof of concept, prove its worth, make sure it's actually functioning exactly as it should be. But so far, so good. I've got oil on my chin. Oh, bloody hell. You never told me I've got oil on my chin. Yeah, the fan's kicked in now, which means it's actually getting up to temperature at last. And there's where we would start seeing issues if they were going to be presenting themselves. And again, so far so good. In fact, it fired up so easily, and there's no warning lights on the dashboard. It's very promising. I want also the coolant to start circulating. So if that's on, then the thermostat should be open. That should start moving the coolant around the place. Ow, that's really hot, which I suspect means it's full of hot water. Okay, let's end this experiment. I think that's fixed. That does look and feel and seem like everything is functioning exactly as it should be. I need to go get the impact driver so I can wallop the crank pulley up as tight as it needs to go, because it needs to be walloped up a bit tighter. There are a couple of little bolts that are missing from brackets and I cannot for the life of me figure out where they came from. So I'm going to have to hunt around in there and see if I can figure that out. But other than that, I think we're good to go. This is basically ready to just give it a blooming good clean, take it for an MOT. I mean, I love how good that little corner looks down there where I gave that a clean up before I put that back in there, and give the rest of the engine bay a bit of a tidy up as well. That will look so, so very nice. I think I said in the last video, my son has told me I'm not allowed to sell this particular car because he wants it for his first car. Although he's very, very sensible, I said this as well. He wants to get something disposable as his first car to learn in, and then once he's passed his test and made his first sort of car park bang mistakes, use this as his car. He wants, basically he's claimed this thing, so I've got to keep it in tip-top condition for the next few years until he's 17 and can drive the thing. At least he's got good taste. I really am looking forward to getting this thing back out on the road because it's so good and so much fun. I really am looking forward to driving this thing very, very soon indeed. Okay, so brilliant. This is the end, hopefully, touch wood, of the getting the Tomcat back together so we can drive the damn thing again series of 2 videos. If you've enjoyed this, please like and subscribe. Head over to the merch store, fearofstriving.co.uk, to find mugs like these and those. I haven't got these hats on yet, I need to sort that out. T-shirts, not the Rustival one, that's on rustival.co.uk, because Rustival is happening on September the 28th, which is a Saturday, I've been reminded. Yeah, this car may well be there if all goes to plan and it doesn't explode in the meantime. It's all happening, isn't it? Oh, by the way, if you like any of the tools I'm using, head over to Amazon affiliate store, link in the description below. If you click on any of those links, get a tiny, tiny kickback, which helps keep the channel going. And if you like what I do here, please consider becoming a member or a Patreon, which helps support the channel, and so I can keep on doing these things, which costs a ridiculous amount of money and time. So no sensible person would do it, so having members and Patreons really does make it a possible thing to do. Anyway, thanks for watching, like, subscribe, you know the business, and we'll see you again next time. Goodbye! Oh, by the way, I was going to take this thing for a drive, but I honestly don't think I can get it around the corner with the Mini just there. I think it's kind of trapped at the moment. Getting it out, it's going to involve dollies and jacks, so yeah, that's a job for another day.